Welcome to Bay State Golf. I'm Sean Melia. I'm trying to play every golf course in the state of Massachusetts. That's public, private, 9 holes, and 18 holes. Today's episode, I'm going to recap the 7 rounds of golf that I played in July, which included 4 brand new courses that I was able to check off on this quest. I've played 154 different golf courses out of about 350 since 2020. Before we get to those 7 golf courses, please subscribe, like this video, and you can also follow me on Instagram, baystate_golf, or subscribe to my newsletter, baystategolf.beehive.com. Lots of other stuff over in those 2 places. My reviews, some competitive stuff, covering some competitions that are going on this summer in Massachusetts and a little bit in New England as well. And also following along with some players who have turned pro and are trying to make it out on tour. But let's get to the 7 golf courses that I played in July. The first one, Leo J. Martin in Weston, Mass., a golf course I had never played before. As usual with these monthly recaps, I'm going to give you 2 good things about the golf course and 1 thing that was not so good, or in some cases, bad. Leo J. Martin is a golf course that has been, kind of just neglected completely. It's owned by the state of Massachusetts. It's a municipal golf course. There's a bunch in the state that are in excellent shape, owned by towns, owned by the city, or different cities around. But Leo J and Ponkapog are both owned by the state of Massachusetts. The good at Leo J is that there are so many hints of what good golf could be there if there was just some water to make sure the greens were actually puttable, completely unputtable greens. There's still Donald Ross greens out there. Sometimes you go and play cheap, neglected golf courses and the greens have become perfectly round and boring, not interesting to hit into. This is not the case at Leo J. The greens still have the shape and the flow and the slopes to them. If they just had a little bit of grass, they would be a lot of fun to putt. There are also a few temporary greens out there. That kind of leads to the bad part. It's just flat out neglected. The conditioning it's not even that it's not good. It's terrible. There's not really any fairways. There's not really any rough. It's all just kind of one big field you're playing in, which is really a shame. It's a cheap golf course to go play. And I think that's, for me, the last good thing. I want to kind of tear through these golf courses relatively quickly for you all this month. It is a golf course that it has, a driving range. It's a place for kids to play. It's a place for beginners to play. Is it a great place to introduce someone to the game of golf if they're picturing, the ability to putt on greens? No, but it's a nice place to go if you really just want to get someone out hitting golf shots and just kind of learning how to be on a golf course. It has that to it. But that's really the one thing, I think, the bright spot about it. And it could still be like that with better greens and just a little bit better conditioning. It's a real shame. It's so close to the city, right off the highway location-wise. The Wednesday I played it, I think I made a tee time 45 minutes before I had to be on the first tee. I played with 2 complete strangers who that's where they play their golf, and enjoyed my walk with them. They were 2 really nice guys, and that's kind of what Leo J is. You're going to go and you might meet some folks. You're not going to play a good golf course, but you're going to play a place that feels like it could be really good if it was just had a little bit of TLC. Next up, I played Wachusett Country Club in West Boylston. This was a return trip for me. I played here, I think in 2021, kind of early on in the quest. And it's a place that I was always wanted to get back to because I really, really liked it when I played it back then. And it's gotten better from the pictures that I took looking back on to the ones that I took and the videos that I took. Just the course, they've done a really nice job just continuing to improve it. The presentation is kind of the first good part. The golf course just looks really nice. It plays really nicely. They've done just a good job with like bunkers and mounding and adding some fescue long grass just to give some texture to the golf course. I played with my friend Jed who had never been there, and he was pretty blown away. I even posed the question, would you rather play here or Franklin Park, a place that we both really love for kind of the same reasons, just like a nice public golf course. Franklin Park's a little bit scruffier, but just as far as like open space, Donald Ross design, and he had a tough time. He kind of leaned towards Franklin Park. I think if I had 10 rounds, I might split them down the middle. I might even go 6-4 Wachusett, just because it is in a little bit better shape. But Wachusett, just as far as like the presentation, I really liked. I wish it didn't end with a par 3. That would be kind of the one maybe bad thing. The 18th is a par 3. The 17th is kind of a flat, pretty straightforward par 4. So you're just kind of getting back towards the clubhouse. The first 3 holes could be 16, 17, 18. If you've watched a bunch of these videos that I've done, I love to reroute golf courses and find just a better way to get around them. And that 3rd hole finishes right under this patio that looks out over, Mount Wachusett, and just has a lovely view. And it could be a really nice setting for an 18th hole. But instead, you finish with a par 3 that also finishes back, towards the clubhouse and whatever. But that part for me is like, it would be cool if it had a little bit more of a strong finish. And 1, 2, 3 is, a par 4, a par 5, a par 4. And if you throw in the current 18th as the 15th hole as a par 3, it's got a nice little closing 3, 4, 5, 4 as far as pars. And the 3rd hole is that green is good. It's a pretty good hole. Would be a nice way to finish the round. And then finally, as far as like the last good thing, the greens were in great shape. They're also really good. I talked about Leo J having, greens that still have their shape to them and have like little corners and nooks and slopes, and they're not just perfectly round. And Wachusett is the same. You play Wachusett and you feel like they're working to keep the shapes of the greens so they don't turn into ovals and circles and kind of grow away from bunkers. And they are doing a really nice job of that. So Wachusett Country Club, we paid $95 to walk on a Friday morning. I think that's the highest you pay if you want to walk. Obviously, throw in a cart, you're paying over $100. One of the best values, I think, in the state, even at that price, if you're looking for a really good public golf. I've heard it can get pretty slow during the weekend. So that's kind of, keep that in mind. But really good value for even around $100, I would say. It's definitely a course worth checking out. The next day, I got a text from my sister. She was wondering if I would take out her son, my nephew, for a quick round at Maynard golf course, and I obliged. I have played there a few times this summer, and it was the 100th course of my quest because it's where I grew up playing. I was a junior member there for a pittance of money, and I like going back and playing it, even though it's kind of fallen on some harder times. I think the first good thing for me is the fact that I can go and I can walk for $30 on a weekend, and my nephew pays $5 as youth on course member. It's $20 if you're just a youth on the weekend. Pretty good deal, and it's a nice way for him to get into the game. Lots of juniors out there playing as well, so there's a bunch of people taking advantage of it. So youth on course, if you have a kid, $5 to play a handful of golf courses in the state, and Maynard is one of them. Pretty great deal. As far as, a bad about Maynard, it is just the conditions, and I've played there 3 times now this summer, and things just kind of continue to slip, deteriorate, whatever you want to do. It's been a hot summer. It's been dry, and it can be hard to grow grass when you're kind of on a budget at a 9-hole public golf course. I understand all of that. But if you are thinking like, oh, maybe I'll go play Maynard, and you want every green to be nicely puttable, there are some greens that are kind of slowly, the 6th green, the 9th green, you've got those like patches of dirt and sand, a little bit like Leo J, but it's not as prevalent. So just as something to keep in mind if you're thinking about maybe going and checking out Maynard, because it is a really nice 9-hole golf course that can be played by a wide variety of golfers. And that's the last good thing. I have played Maynard with my old driver, my old 975D. I played it with 4 clubs last time. This time I played it with my nephew. I brought my driver, my 7-iron, my 54 degree wedge, and my putter. and just played the golf course with those clubs and really enjoyed it. So like if you're a better player and you're going out with someone who's learning the game, like leave some clubs in the trunk and you can definitely go play it that way. But just a good 9-hole golf course, some really cool greens, 2 good par 3s. I can't strongly recommend it because some of the conditions, but it is a cool walk and a nice little 9-hole golf course in that area. Another 9-holer I played, and this was course 152 on my quest, a new place. Leo J was 151, was Pine Oaks, which is in Easton. It's also connected to Joe and Lee's, which is a huge store, has an incredible used section. You can go get new clubs, used clubs, golf balls. It's right there on the same property. They've got a little practice facility as well. But this is like a little 9-holer, and as far as the good, it's like a sporty is the word they use, and I think that's a fair one. There's some good long holes. There's some holes you can hit driver, wedge. There's a par 5 that's actually pretty tough just because it gets pretty narrow up by the green. But just first off, like a kind of a good, pretty, not tough, but a good 9-hole golf course that you can go play and feel like you're going to hit a bunch of different shots. You could hit driver a bunch of places. You could play the golf course a bunch of different ways if you wanted to. So that's kind of the first good. And then obviously you can go check out Joe and Lee's, which is right next door, which is also good. The bad, and this is maybe a little bit heavy, but holes 3, 8, and 9 are not great. 8 I kind of put on the edge of not great, but 3 and 9 are pretty bad holes just because they're super narrow. They're blind. They're dog legs with like no space on either side to try to hit a golf shot. So didn't really love those 2 holes. 8 has just a tree in the middle, and you just got to know how to play it, which is a little different than I think 3 and 9. Like you could play it a million times and not really, it could really screw up a round if you're actually out there trying to post a number, or playing stroke play, or you have a tryout or whatever if that's used by high schools in the area. A lot of young golfers playing there too on the day that I played. And then lastly, it's an easy walk. There's a couple long walks. Like to get to the first tee, you walk a little bit. You actually would think the 4th tee box is the first tee box because it's right next to the building. It is not. You got to walk a little bit to get to 1, and then you got to walk a little bit between a couple tee boxes. But it's a pretty flat piece of land, and so that's good. And there's also just one last good thing. There's a good par 3. I think maybe it's the 5th hole, 6th hole. It's like a 230-yard par 3. So they've got some bite to the golf course too, which maybe adds to the word sporty that I used earlier. But overall, Pine Oaks is another spot where if you live in that area, it borders Easton, a good emergency 9 if you've played 18 at Easton and you'd like a little bit more golf. Or a good spot to just sneak out and play a quick 9 and hit some different shots, play a tough par 3. You get a par 5 in there too, so you get some different clubs to hit into a bunch of holes, which is also nice. It's not a super short golf course. And then next up, 153 was Woodland Golf Club in Auburndale, in Newton, in that area of the state. I was treated to around by my buddy Connor McCormick, who invited me out. We went and played at 7:30 in the morning the week before the Wilmette, so the golf course was kind of coming along nicely, and they were getting ready for some of the best players in the state to compete. So really good golf course, old golf course. It's got some deep connections to Francis Wilmette, which is why the Wilmette Memorial ends there. It's where he was a member and played most of his golf. He joined as a junior member before he won the U.S. Open in 1913. So it's a place he really called home and played a lot of golf. So there's some cool, rich history, big clubhouse, pretty stately area, and just a nice place to visit. So lucky enough to go and play a private golf course. Always feel fortunate when I get to do that. The first good thing is this golf course, as I really enjoy just like the way the round built, and you kind of grew into getting to the harder holes. The first hole is a short par 4. You can hit driver. I had a little chip up onto the green, and you're hitting driver wedges, and you're feeling like you're kind of slowly building up into the round. And then once you play the first 3 holes, you actually go across the green line, and the 4th hole is a little par 3. And the 5th hole is another par 4 uphill. It's kind of a driver wedge. It starts to build. You're starting to hit some uphill shots. The wedge is a little bit longer. There's out of bounds right on the 5th hole, so there's like a little bit of congestion, a little bit of nerves, and then you get to 6, and then 6, 7, 8, all the way through to really 15 is like the meat of the golf course. You got to hit some good shots. You're playing up and down hills. You got some trees that can get in the way, but you're not in a spot where you're going to lose a lot of golf balls unless you hit them in some water on some holes. But I think I really liked that about the round overall is that build from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 really is the strongest set of holes. 15 is a really tough par 3. After you cross the railroad to come back, you play 15 through 18. So they got like 7 holes on one side of the railroad, the green line, and the other holes are on the other side. So they kind of have like an inner and an outer set of holes. I think for me, always kind of hard to pick out a bad thing when you play a really good golf course, because Woodland was very good. After you play 15, the round does that feels like the crescendo, and 16, 17, 18, which play around the clubhouse, fall a little bit flat. They come back to maybe what you have in the beginning of the round, where you're kind of warming up and getting into the round. This is almost like the warm down. If you can hit the fairway on 16, it's like a tunnel, so it's really tough to miss as long as you miss the pot bunker on the right. 17's a pretty straightforward, straight par 4, and then 18. It's a little bit of a dog leg. You have to hit a pretty decent tee shot, but you got a lot of space as long as you stay left outside of the trees, which I did not do. I still made par from the right trees, and that green is pretty severe. But just as far as thinking about like those first 4 holes getting you loose, the last 3 holes feel a little bit like a come down after playing that really strong set in the middle. So that would be my one thing. I'm not going to reroute the golf course to fix it, because it is I really do like the way it's all set up. It's just those last 3 holes, there's nothing you can really do to make them more exciting. They always feel like at the Wilmette Memorial, once a guy kind of plays, or a woman plays 15, if they have a lead, someone might be able to chase them down, but they're usually playing well enough they're going to get a birdie out of one of those 3 holes. There's not really a lot of disasters or tough things or any dramatic parts of those last 3 holes. And then the last good thing about Woodland is it is just a very playable golf course. Walking it, you like I said in the first little bit here, you're not going to lose golf balls. You can play with 1 golf ball. You might hit it in some trees, but they're sparsely collected between holes. There's a couple spots of out of bounds where you're playing along the property lines. But overall, you don't have to even hit the ball super straight to not lose a ball or not get it around. You can obviously find yourself in some weird spots. The greens are outstanding. They feel a little bit different over the course of the 18 holes. There's some raw stuff. There's some other kind of designers. There's a little bit of a mutt factor at Woodland, so you get some different kinds of greens. But overall, I think that's another thing I liked about it. It's a place I could play every day. And it's a place I imagine anyone who's a member there enjoys playing every day, just because of the flow of the round, and the way the golf course just kind of allows you to walk it and play it pretty easily. When you can try to go low. It can be pretty penal if you take on some pins, especially when the greens are fast. I'm sure it can get pretty ugly. But overall, thought it was really playable. Really enjoyed the walk. Enjoyed the morning with Connor, and was actually I'd been there before. I'd never played it except for a junior event years ago. Just was really pleasantly surprised. I think playing private places, I have a pretty good sense of what most of them are like, and this one stood out to me as like, oh, this one exceeded my expectations that I had when I showed up. Got 2 left here. Miacomet, which I have talked about. I've already played it once this year. My wife and I like to go to Nantucket for little chunks of time. We went in March when it was freezing cold. I played Miacomet in 40-degree weather. I did a day trip last year to check it off the list, so this was not a new golf course for me. This is my third time playing it in the last 14, 15 months. So I've talked about it on here before. So I'll just really quickly go through. I played a Twilight round for $125. The other 2 times I've played, I've paid $70 each time. That's just about, I've played it 3 times for the cost of 1 full summer round, which is $255. So I've paid $165 to play it 3 times. So if you can steal a good day in the winter and it's $70, do it. I played Twilight. I played the back 9 in about like an hour and 10 minutes solo, and was rushing a little bit, so it wasn't like, didn't really feel like I got the full 18 holes in, but it was a lovely summer evening. Really enjoyed the round of golf. Conditions were excellent. That's kind of number one. The bad, there are some long walks and kind of an odd routing from 2 to 3, from 9 to 10, and then 16, 17, 18 are all kind of a little bit, you walk backwards down holes and you're kind of huffing your bag to get to tee boxes, or leaving your bag way up to leave it to grab on your way up the hole. So that's the one thing for me that I've talked about before, but just kind of, I don't love that about the golf course. And then I want to talk about just one specific hole really quickly. The 6th hole is awesome. This really cool dogleg right cape style hole, so you can blow it left all you want. You have the whole planet. You've got 2 holes over to your left. There's a bunch of fairway. The fairway is shared with the 5th hole as well, so you get this massive fairway. But if you can hit the ball in the right line and you get the right wind, you can have a little flip wedge into a green that's got a little false front, some really great bunkering that's like cut. The bunkers there are really, really good. They're cut into the ground a little bit more, and sharp edges so balls can roll into them, especially off of greens, which I really like. But that 6th hole, every time I stand on that tee box, it's just, I really like playing that hole a lot, especially after playing 2 par 5s. You've got driver in your hand, you might be feeling good, and you can let another driver rip and try to give yourself a chance at birdie. Really like that hole. Course 154 in the Quest is Green Hill Golf Course in Worcester. As a Holy Cross grad, I never played this golf course. I never made it up to Green Hill, and so I knew nothing about Green Hill. What I had heard was that it's come a long way from what it used to be. It was, it's a municipal golf course owned by Worcester, in a really cool setting. Actually, it's like there's a big park. You can go up and you could spend a whole day up there. You could play golf. You could kind of go on a hike. You could picnic. There's just a bunch going on up in that little area of Green Hill. And I think for me, the first good is just they seem like they're working to make the golf course better and better over the last 4 or 5 years. There's a lot of golf courses that I have played either just before COVID or just after COVID, once the boom hit, that prices have gone up and the conditions have not improved, or they've deteriorated a little bit, to be honest with you. And it feels like Green Hill's going the other way. The prices, it was a $40 round of golf, which to walk on a Wednesday, awesome. The golf course was in good shape, and it's just, so that's kind of the first thing for me. Good for Green Hill for being a golf course that a lot of people have told me is just getting better, and they're putting some time and effort into it. Some cool fescue spots. So I thought it was just overall another pleasant surprise, just going out and playing there and seeing, how far it's come without ever seeing it before, but just hearing about it, you can tell when a golf course is cared for, and it definitely felt like that at Green Hill. As far as the bad about Green Hill, it just feels like a little bit of a shooting gallery in some certain spots. The first few holes all run adjacent to each other, and you can end up on other people's fairways. The way the land is kind of built, or it's cambered, the way the golf course is built on the hill, balls kind of run off pretty easily into other people's fairways. So that was maybe the one part for me, especially early in the round, where we're not quite sure where we're going, where our tee shots are landing. I was firm and fast. We played there just before all that rain that we got at the end of the month. And then on the back, you're playing a lot of kind of up and down this pretty steep hill. You get to the bottom of the hill, and there's a few holes that run kind of perpendicular to the pretty steep slope. So another area where you can end up with people in your fairway, or you're in their fairway, especially kind of 16 walking down to 17 is a tricky little spot where you could get hit with tee shots or whatever else. So there's a little bit of that. It's pretty condensed. It felt a little bit to me like President's. You're up on a hill. It's windy. You've got some different sight lines. It reminded me of President's. You get some views of the city. I think you can even see Holy Cross, I'm pretty sure, from that first green and second tee box. The last good thing is you can play a lot of the golf holes at Green Hill differently, which I like. You could hit drive. You could just say I'm going to hit driver on as many holes as I can. You could leave your driver in the bag. You could play strategically. You could lay back in some spots. I kind of hit driver in some different holes that maybe if I went back I wouldn't try. So I did like that about the golf course. It's one of those ones that you could play a bunch of times in the summer and feel like you're getting a different golf course each time because of the wind, because of the clubs you could possibly hit off some of the holes. The par threes are varied in length as well, so that kind of offers a little bit of some optionality and some different iron shots you have to hit off of the hole. So I thought that was good. And then the last maybe good thing as I'm talking here is I thought the par fives, especially the last three of them, which were the 9th, the 12th, and the 16th, were pretty strong. 12 and 16 are beasts where you're climbing straight up a hill, and I thought those three holes were good par fives. The 9th you can get there in 2, but you got water running down the right side. You got fescue lined hill on the left. I kind of got gobbled up by that hole because I just steered clear of the water and ended up in some long grass and couldn't quite escape it and made bogey. So that's another thing I liked. I thought the par threes were very good once you got past the 3rd hole, which is the first par 5. But those last 3 are pretty stellar and pretty challenging, especially when the wind is blowing like it was. So that's my set of 7 golf courses that I played this month in July. I've already checked off a golf course or played a golf course in July. I played Concord Country Club. Looking forward to sharing that in my next video when I wrap up August. Hoping to get a few more golf courses checked off this month and slowly make my way to the halfway mark of my quest, which would be around 170, 175 golf courses. And my goal is to do that before we see snow and before courses start to close. So if you'd like to support me doing that, you can go to baystategolf.beehive.com. I have a paid subscriber network. You get my course reviews early. You can make comments on my posts. I have a free Friday newsletter that has a roundup of competitive golf. I dig into some pro events and find local pros who are playing on the Korn Ferry Tour, PGA Tour Americas, the PGA Tour, LPGA. I look at amateur events. Once the college season gets started, there'll be some college updates in there too. So do a little bit of competitive roundup, do a little bit of writing. I also share just some weekly favorites of mine, things I ate, drank, read, watched. So that's free. But again, if you'd like to support, you can get early reviews. You can get some previews of tournaments. The Concord Country Club is hosting the Massachusetts Women's Amateur this week. I've got a preview in there on the golf course, which I know very well. I've played there a bunch of times, and another preview on the players. So you can pay to get more of those posts if you would like and you want to support my quest and what I'm trying to do to highlight Massachusetts golf, both on the competitive side and on the golf course side. So thanks for watching, subscribing, liking, and we will see you next week with another video about Bay State Golf.